Welcome to a very special edition of the French Tech Asia Pacific podcast. I'm here at the Women's Forum Asia in Singapore, talking to Sarah Chen. Welcome.
Thank you.
You've founded the Billion-Dollar Fund for Women.
hmm
Could you tell us a little bit more about this project and some of the things you've achieved so far?
Sure. So the Billion Dollar Fund for Women is really a global consortium of venture capital funds who have now pledged 8 months in $1 billion to be invested into women-founded companies. And these are women who are innovating across the board from AI, blockchain, clean tech, fintech, you name it. And women are definitely innovating across the board, not just in consumer goods as what people would typically put and park women in. And we are here to say that the venture community believes in the power of investing in women and that this is something that we need to continue to do. The reason why we started with the Billion Dollar Fund for Women was that, we talk a lot about the gender pay gap, but we don't necessarily talk about the gender investment gap. And, even in the worst regions like South Asia where it's 33 cents a dollar to men, the gender venture investment gap globally is 17 cents a dollar. That is only 70% of venture capital being invested into women-founded companies. And when I talk about women-founded companies, it also includes at least just one female founder in a team. So, 8 months on, we didn't think we would reach this goal so fast, but it sort of is a testament to the fact that our investors across Asia, across the globe, so we are very active as a global entity. They are seeing returns themselves. Like I said in my speech earlier, Money Talks, Gobi Partners, one of our partner funds, a huge Southeast Asian fund here, has seen that even in their portfolio companies, by investing into women-founded companies, gender-diverse teams, the revenues were 2.5x as compared to just all-male teams. So data speaks for itself. We believe in diversity and it cuts across. Of course, right now I'm championing women to start because it's just a necessity. But beyond that, I believe that it should cut across everything from ethnicity, sexuality, and more than that, because the best ideas come from, the most diverse group to challenge the problem given the different backgrounds that we bring. So we're very excited that we've reached $1 billion and there's much more to come in making sure that there's a continued capacity to invest into women-founded innovation.
So investing into women-founded innovation, you mentioned just now, as you just said, and you also said it on stage, Money Talks.
Right.
So the returns are higher from a VC point of view when you're investing in female-founded startups. Could you share some of your views on why that is?
So let me correct you that when we say female founders, I'm talking about gender diverse teams. So at least, having at least one woman in the team.
Right.
The reality is the majority of capital still goes to all male teams.
I see.
And when we talk about outperformance, first round capital, a VC fund has looked at their portfolio over 10 years and they call it a 10-year project and found that by having at least one female founder in the mix, the outperformance is 63%. Now, why does that happen? Let's think about, the working groups and the working dynamic of building a startup. You're faced with challenges every single day and you're serving consumers that are very different. And if you think about the markets that a lot of the startups today serve, half the population are women. Right? And if you don't understand how to serve your community, your customers, how are you going to develop the best solutions for them? And that's not to say that men can't think for women and women can't think for men, but I think that there's always a unique perspective, a unique angle. And we need to sort of take into account the fact that diversity does definitely bring the best ideas to the table. You might be challenged if we all sort of grow up in the same way and look at a problem the same way, we'll probably come up with the same solution. But if I come from a very different background and I've had a range of different experiences, I'll definitely challenge you in saying that, hey, how about thinking about it out of the box in a different way? So this is just sort of looking at it at a granular level. We want to make sure that there's diversity and inclusion in everything that we do. And I think that this should be reflected not just in, helping women, getting into the system, women SMEs, but beyond that, working to make sure that women that are innovating with the great ideas are being seen and they are a success story that will continue to breed success stories, right? When we talk about women in STEM, for example, I actually work full-time in deep tech in commercializing technology across the federal labs ecosystem in the US, backed by the Department of Defense. And I struggle sometimes to see women in STEM because the fact is when you think about how women are brought up, are they exposed as much to science, technology, engineering as we should? Probably not. I look at the sandbox example of risk taking, which is also equivalent to risk taking, right? And entrepreneurship is a risky endeavor. And when I think back to how parenting is skewed between boys and girls, are you telling your boys to go play in the sandbox compared to girls to be careful and not dirty your clothes? That all is reflective of what they do later on in their lives, of whether they will take that risk, jump along in the sandbox or not, right? So a lot of these things add up, and I want to make sure that when we talk about investing into innovation by women, we look at the entire spectrum and focus on the winners and continue to bring winners, because that is what will hopefully elevate us forward.
I'd like to take this from investing in women-driven innovation to the other side of the spectrum. We here in French Tech Singapore, we've launched an initiative called Dare to be a Female Business Angel, where we encourage and help women to become investors in startups. How do you think those kinds of initiatives could be beneficial to both the startup ecosystem and society?
So I love this idea of women cutting the checks. If you recall the story of Rent the Runway, which is a unicorn, the first investors that she approached were men that basically thought her idea was very cute. And of course, they're kicking themselves now. But look, if they didn't see the potential, I don't necessarily fault them, because they don't necessarily see the business model where it is consumer behavior that is not natural to them as men, and they don't necessarily reflect the market opportunity. But when women are backing women-founded innovations, I think we all benefit by first making sure that the entrepreneurs that are in front of the investors are able to resonate their message with the right audience. And number two, they're able to also gain mentorship from the investors that are investing into them. The biggest sort of capital that I think investors bring to the table beyond actual capital, i.e. cash, the money, it is the expertise, it is the guidance, it is about opening the doors and being strategic about where they go from here. And when we have women innovators being supported by women investors, I think that is just good news. And beyond that, I'm hopeful that as these women innovations continue to succeed, the women investors will continue to get the upside. And that is all good news, because it is wealth that will be put into the hands of women. And look, the trend will continue. By 2030, 2/3 of wealth in the US will be held by women and millennials that will want to see more impact-driven investments, that will want to invest more in women, just because it's the right thing to do, right? And I think that beyond making business sense, it is also an imperative to not only sort of bring these innovations to light, but to make sure that the innovators behind them. I took an example of Alibaba earlier, where we talk a lot about Jack Ma, but Lucy Peng was very much instrumental, and she raised a huge amount with Ant Financial. Where's the success story in the highlight there? So I love the work that you're doing, because it's so important to highlight these success stories, because then it's role modeling, which will then change the next generation. And once we have investors leading the path, women investors leading the path as angels, as VCs, as PEs, this will just change the game for us in an entire ecosystem.
Terrific. Thank you very much. I know you're very short on time, so we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you for these great insights, and look forward to the rest of the Women's Forum here in Singapore.
Thank you so much, Nick.